am sitting here today with Bryn Kerrigan, who has a unique perspective as a patient who was diagnosed with Cocci Meningitis in 2024, but is also the director of Kern County Public Health, which is the public health agency at California's Epicenter for Valley Fever. And we're going to talk a bit about her experience today.
My name is Bryn Kerrigan. I am the director of Kern County Public Health and also a Cocci Meningitis patient.
So, you know, as people who have both been diagnosed and lived with Cocci Meningitis for a period of time, tell me a little bit about your journey to actually get diagnosed with Cocci Meningitis and what that looked like.
So I spent the month of April with progressively worsening headaches. Headaches are not something that is common for me to experience, and so I knew something was wrong, but I'm a mom of 2 teenage children. I have a stressful job as the director of Kern County Public Health. I have a lot going on in my life, so I was under a lot of stress at the time as well, and I just kind of chalked it up to stress. But the headaches got worse, and then other symptoms started to kick in. I started to experience nausea. I started to experience extreme fatigue. The sensitivity to light in my vision started happening, and then the vomiting started happening. I lost all of my appetite. I was extremely fatigued. I was like unable to move. I mean, I would take a shower and that would exhaust all of my energy. And so that led me to finally getting diagnosed with Cocci Meningitis. But before that happened, I actually had other symptoms that I didn't connect with those headaches when I was having them in April. So in early March, I was experiencing a cold that lasted longer than normal. I had a cough that lingered for about 2 weeks or so, which is unusual for me. And then I had a rash that lasted for about 3 days on my legs that self-resolved, and I just didn't connect all of those things together to really even consider that valley fever was even an option for what was going on with me.
Yeah, and so, I mean, you had a solid 6 weeks of meningitis with an immense headache prior to being diagnosed, which is actually very similar to mine. You were diagnosed May 2nd. I was actually finally given a diagnosis February 14th, 2012. Easy day to remember, is the only reason I can do it. But it's interesting that only in the world of fungal diseases is 6 weeks to get diagnosed with active meningitis considered a success story for you and I, because many patients have strokes or other additional things that complicate their ability to recover. Let's talk a little bit about the diagnostic process. So you were diagnosed with a valley fever test, which was done through a lumbar puncture, but you had symptoms on and off for 6 weeks. I mean, was this the first diagnostic test that they ordered, or what diagnostics did they go through with you?
Yeah, so I was actually diagnosed on my 4th visit to a healthcare provider. So the first diagnosis I was given was tension headaches, and I was told to go get a massage. Well, I did that, and there was no relief. In fact, it actually made it worse because laying on my stomach just made my head pound even harder. I went to the hospital 2 times after that and was just told, oh, you know, you're dehydrated, let's give you some fluids, you're just puny, we'll give you a little bit of pain medicine, we'll give you some migraine medicine, and then go visit your primary care doctor. So that happened. Not once did they consider, you know, meningitis or valley fever even an option. I had CT scans, everything was coming back normal, but they sent me to my primary care doctor. My primary care doctor doesn't do anything in-house, so no blood work, you know, no scans in-house. So I went to visit him. He ordered all the tests to try to figure out what was going on, not valley fever, and then was outsourcing all of that. So it was during that period of time that I was waiting to go get the blood work and the scans that then it just got so bad that I went back to the hospital, and it was finally considered that I may have Cocci Meningitis.
Which is insane. So the plot twist of this whole thing is we're sitting on the 3rd floor of the Kern County Department of Public Health building. What else is housed in this building?
Our public health lab.
And what test does this public health lab run about 20,000 times a year?
Valley fever.
Right? One of 4 labs in the United States that runs immunodiffusion for valley fever.
Yeah.
People from all over send their tests here. And when you think about that, do you think about the missed opportunities and what that meant for you and what that could have meant for you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think about what it could mean for other people too. Just that early diagnosis and, the pain and agony that you go through when you're suffering from this disease and you don't know that you're suffering from it. And the quick sort of relief you get when you finally get on the treatment, that is that missed opportunity for somebody, the quality of life that's impacted, the impact on their family members watching their loved ones suffer. That is a huge missed opportunity.
And you touched on something too, is, that you get that relief of a diagnosis and then answer and starting treatment. But that's really, for a lot of us, that's where our journey begins.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about your early experience getting antifungals and to where you are now.
Sure. So when I was first diagnosed, I was put on fluconazole. I was put on 1,200 milligrams of fluconazole a day. Fluconazole is a tough treatment to be on. I mean, I felt that instant relief. I felt better. My symptoms started resolving right away, but then I started experiencing a lot of side effects from the medication. You can't tell by looking at me because I do have hair extensions in, but I lost about 80% of my hair. And while that seems so superficial and shouldn't matter to a younger female that's suffering, to lose all of your hair, that is pretty significant, to look at yourself in the mirror and not even recognize who you are. And then all of the cotton mouth and the dry skin and the dry lips, that it doesn't seem like there's a chapstick on the market. It doesn't seem like there's a lotion on the market. You can't drink enough water to actually stop the cotton mouth and the dryness that comes from that antifungal treatment. And I'll never forget the moment that the ER doctor was talking to me about getting on fluconazole, and she told me, whatever you do not get pregnant when you're on this drug. And I luckily was at a place in my life where I already had my children. I wasn't looking to expand my family, but I can imagine other people in a similar circumstance, but that weren't at the place in their lives where their family was already developed, that could be life-changing news that they receive. So that's my journey with fluconazole. I was on it, from when I was diagnosed in May all the way until September of 2024. In September of 2024, my meningitis symptoms started recurring. I started to get the headaches again. The sensitivity to light returned. I knew it instantly. It was meningitis and not just I was having a headache that day. And so my infectious disease doctor told me, go back to the hospital. I was admitted into the hospital, spent about a week there, and my medication was changed from fluconazole to posaconazole. I was placed on 400 milligrams a day, and that for me was a complete game changer. All of the side effects that I was experiencing with fluconazole went away, but I was also receiving all the relief from all the symptoms that I was experiencing on the drug. So it has really sort of changed the dynamics for me as far as treatment is concerned.
So obviously, one of the most glaring for you was the hair loss, but you mentioned other side effects. What other side effects did you have on fluconazole? Besides the chapped lips and stuff.
Yeah. Really, it was the chapped lips, it was the hair loss, and then it was the constipation. Those were the 3 main.
Yeah, and it's hard, I think, having been on those same drugs, having failed some of those drugs. And the one thing I say about hair loss is, I tell everybody, except for me, everybody else's grew back. But it is something, if you think about the cancer community and the amount of resources that are available for women undergoing cancer because of the issues with hair loss. It is a significant issue, and I think it can lead to people not following through on their therapy, which can have poor outcomes. So thinking about patient empowerment, what message would you want people to know about talking to their doctor, whether it's diagnostics or drugs?
Well, I mean, I'm a firm believer in ask for the test. If you are, experiencing a cough that is lasting longer than normal, if it's lasting longer than a week, ask for the test. If you're experiencing any symptoms that are consistent with valley fever, ask to be tested. And I think an important message that I would like to send to anybody listening to this is you're not looking for all of the valley fever symptoms to be happening at once. It could just be one of them, and consider valley fever as an option. So ask to be tested, and then if you're on treatment but you're experiencing side effects, there are a number of different treatments that are available that your doctor could consider prescribing for you. So talk to your doctor about other potential treatment options that maybe don't have those same side effects, because staying compliant with your medication is so important.
So you exist at the center of both now the patient and the public health, but you exist at the epicenter of valley fever in Kern County. Yeah. So you would hope, you can argue about whether testing should always be considered in this area, but the area for valley fever is expanding, and a lot of people don't live in the epicenter. So what's your message to those that maybe live in Utah or Washington or Oregon or Idaho?
Yeah, I mean, I think valley fever should be considered anywhere because people could have traveled through the area, but we're also seeing the footprint of valley fever is expanding. And so it's starting to turn up in places where it's not typically around. And so I would just encourage valley fever to be considered no matter where you're at as a potential for why a patient is experiencing the symptoms that they are experiencing.
So now that you've always been an advocate for valley fever in this community and education and awareness, how has your personal experience now changed the way that public health focuses on engagement in this community?
You're right. I've always been an advocate for valley fever. It's always been something that Kern County Public Health has talked about, has educated about. Me and my personal experience has just lit a fire under, me on what I want to do. I want to expand that education. I feel like it's extremely important. And I share my story not so that I get credit or so that, people are seeing me, but I share my story so that people can see that it can happen to anybody. I am not one of those high-risk individuals. I really do debunk all of the myths that are out there about valley fever. There's a lot of people that live in Kern County that feel like because they've lived here their entire life, they've probably already had it and they don't have anything to worry about. Well, I've lived in Kern County my entire life. I was 40 years old when I was diagnosed with Cocci Meningitis. I was at the physically healthiest part of my life I've ever been in. I was training for a marathon when I was diagnosed, and I got the most severe case of valley fever that you could get. I got Cocci Meningitis. So I really want our community to know that valley fever is out there. I want our community to know that valley fever is a risk that everybody needs to be considering is out there and that they need to protect themselves from, and they need to take it seriously. I also use my story as hopefully a beacon of hope for others that, there are other people out there that are experiencing it. If they're getting that same diagnosis that I got that day, May 2nd, 2024, a scary diagnosis, there are other people out there that have that diagnosis that you can tap into, that you can see that people can get back to living a normal, healthy, productive life, that there are treatment options out there, that there are different opportunities for them to be on if they're struggling. So there's a lot of information that I'm trying to get out, this is just yet another way that I can hopefully share my story to get more people educated on valley fever.
When I started sharing my story, my goal was never to be the person sharing their story. And I hate that other people have stories to share, but I'm thankful that you are one of those that is sharing your story. Thank you so much.
Thank you.